Today we're gonna focus on solutions to climate change. I guess at least that's gonna be the theme. And what makes me excited today is that, like 10 years ago, um, if you were trying to solve climate change, then you probably had to put your energy in something what I call stage one, convincing the world that it is actually a problem. But today, most people would probably agree that there's a big problem and we need to do something radical to change it. So um, people could then go to stage two, which would be creating a solution. And that's what I'm excited because I've invited the executive director for a nonprofit organization called Ideas for Us, not Ideas for Future. That's Greta Thunberg. So Ideas for Us, and they're working with creating solutions and then implementing them into the local communities and to the world. So I want to say welcome to Clayton. How are you today in your energy?
Hey, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm doing wonderful today. Already a busy morning here in Orlando, Florida, and it's an honor to be here on this call and to talk to your audience.
Yes, very welcome. So you're from the States then. Is that where the organization is rooted, in the States?
Indeed, yeah. So our headquarters globally is in Orlando, Florida. So that's located in Central Florida, and we're not on the coast. We're kind of smack dab in the middle of the state. We started here out of a dorm room back in 2008, but we've grown to now have done work in 30 different countries around the world. We have a satellite office in Liberia, in West Africa, in Nepal as well, in Romania, and some other places around the world too. But Orlando is our headquarters.
Right. So 2008, the whole movement started, and now it's grown quite big, you're saying. So could you explain for people who have never come across Ideas for Us before, what is it that you do?
Of course. So our number one differentiator is that we are not an environmental advocacy organization. We are an environmental action organization. I really believe that there's been a tremendous amount of environmental advocacy over the last 30 years that is largely linked to our generation globally, understanding the problems that are in front of us. But there's been very little discussion about what an individual can do in a course of action to solve these environmental problems, especially at the local level. So when we formed, we had plenty of other environmental organizations on our campus, but they were picketing, they were protesting, they were doing walkouts, and that was it. There was no action. There was no trash cleanups. There was no tree plantings. And most importantly, they didn't look outside in the bigger picture of that. If we only remain environmentalists talking to environmentalists, we'll never get anywhere. We have to bring in interdisciplinary, intergenerational groups. So that's really where we focus. And we do three things. We help people all over the world in campuses and communities develop their ideas into action projects that can be tracked with metrics and key performance indicators. We then fund those programs to become pilots and study their impact. And then lastly, the things that work, we'll invest in them, work with companies all over the world, Microsoft, Apple, Tupperware, T-Mobile, AT&T, Louis Vuitton, and we'll invest in those programs and turn them into what's called a social enterprise. And we'll create jobs for people in the communities that need them. We always hire from within the community that we're trying to help. And that's an important thing because most people think of environmentalism as tree hugging and solar panels, but they don't realize that it's a two-income household and empowering women and creating all different types of important economic solutions to get us through the 21st century. So we are a different kind of environmental organization.
Yeah, that's for sure. So in the circle of life, everything has its place. And in the beginning, probably advocacy was a great idea to work with. And now, because people are already starting to adapt and accept this idea of we are having to face global warming, then it seems like you're spot on now in time. So you've been around for almost 11 years or 11 years. And I'm guessing then,
Yeah.
would that be, like, it seems that you've grown a lot during these 11 years. Is that, did I get the correct image here, that you've been able to grow a lot?
Of course. Of course. We've evolved in our scope and how we approach these different solutions. We're really lucky that we got to learn by doing. We got to learn how to turn a pilot project into a program through blood, sweat, and tears. We learned how to build an organization that works with governments, that works with the private sector of business, that works with other independent sector partners like hospitals and religious community organizations, homeless organizations, all different types of things to show them the nexus between sustainability and what they do. And that's had to evolve in scope and also in our process and how we go about doing this. I will say, though, that one of the smartest things we did was very early on, we decided on 4 core values. And we wrote them down and put them in our bylaws and said, okay, this is going to be how we frame everything that we do. The first one is optimism, because there is enough doom and gloom organizations out there, and no one does things through bad news, at least passionately. So we wanted to really engage people on the fact that the solutions are possible, and we want it to be a positive organization. So we talk a lot about our success stories. The second thing is resilience, because sustainability is just the bare minimum. We want to build resilient communities that are equitable and that have strong elements of social justice and inclusion. That's very important. That brings us into, of course, our third value, which is inclusion itself. And whenever we go into communities, we involve the people who are part of that community in forming the whole project and the whole course of action. What are the key performance indicators for it? They know better than we ever will. So whether we're in Rwanda or New York City, that's something that remains true. And our fourth value is mutualism, in that we don't compete with other organizations. We don't compete with anyone. We're a neutral entity that's there to add value. So we work with many partners, Sierra Club and Florida Wildlife Federation, and even the EPA when they were under the Obama administration. So there's been a lot of synergies there that have come from that, and a lot of growth, you're right, but we've managed to stay true to our values now and into the future.
That really helps to understand why, right. So I understand why you could differentiate yourself being optimistic when everyone else might have had a different approach, saying it's the end, right? So could you tell us about one specific project to make it even more clear, from the idea stage and then to the funding and then to creating those jobs? Do you have any example on what an idea could be that you've been already?
Of course, we have a beautiful kind of our flagship program. So I'll take you through the story of it. We hold a meeting every month called The Hive. And the idea behind The Hive, and this is something I'd love for your listeners to reach out to us about learning more on, but it's a meeting that we hold in communities and on campuses. It brings together people of intergenerational and interdisciplinary studies and pursuits. We, each meeting, have a different global topic in sustainable development or the world of environmentalism and sustainability that we want to talk about that month. But we look at it from the global level at the start of the meeting, but by the end of it, we've come down to the local level of exactly how that global problem manifests itself in the community that we're in. And at one particular meeting, we focused on food issues, and particularly food sanctity, about people's rights in this country to grow their own food. We spoke about the amount of carbon that goes into the production of our food in the industrial agricultural system of the United States. And we also looked at the distance that food travels, which is typically 1,500 miles from where it's sourced from to the person's actual plate. So we looked at all of those particular issues, and we identified that if we combined growing food in people's front lawns with bicycles as a way of no carbon transit, and then created a revenue model where we were selling the greens at farmers markets that we would create ourselves locally for communities or use existing farmers markets, we could have a kind of multi-level impact where we're not only growing food in our lawns, we're stopping damage to our springs through agricultural runoff, we're cutting down on the amount of carbon, the distance that food travels because we're creating it locally, and it just checked all the boxes. So we called it fleet farming, fleet as in a fleet of bicycles, and farming, of course, is growing urban agricultural organic produce, especially heirloom varieties of organic produce. And from there, it just took off. And we continued to invest in the pilot project to turn it into an annual program. From there, continued to study it and explore the different niches that it could be in, and started selling to luxury restaurants, places like the Ritz-Carlton, and some very well-known high-end restaurants here in our community, but also farmers markets in food deserts, where we were then able to provide free produce for residents or very, very reduced fee produce for residents through donations, so that people could get connected to eating fresh produce again, especially in poverty-stricken minority communities. So this program of fleet farming really evolved and took off. We were on NBC News, which is a popular United States news channel here, and we were also featured in a National Geographic documentary called From Paris to Pittsburgh, and it was all about the Paris Climate Accord and cities that are defying our current president, President Trump, by being leaders in the sustainability world. And National Geographic chose Ideas for Us and our fleet farming program to come and film a whole documentary on, and people can watch that online at Disney Plus and a bunch of other places as well, and it features this program. So it's been a really good example to show how this can really work, how it can generate jobs, how it can generate media publicity, how companies that are global will donate to this type of thing. And we've been using that as a way to justify innovation in many, many other areas that we're working in.
So basically, when the world tells you, hey, we want to give you publicity for the work you're doing, and you've gotten that much of publicity, then that's for sure it's a sign that it's working. Yeah, I see that.
Well, it's
impressive.
For sure. It's a sign that it resonates with people in the public, and it is an interesting and innovative approach. But it's not the key metric alone to success. What we're ultimately trying to do is use food, because after all, everybody eats. It's both universal and very culturally personal. And how can we use food as a gateway to bring people, children, families, students, people in communities of color that are struggling, and how can we rapidly reconnect them to nature? And how can we show them that farming is kind of a gateway into the bigger world of sustainability? And how can that then relate to other aspects of sustainability, such as job creation and having it be their career, and getting involved in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or even STEAM, where you add an A in there for art, and how this can really be something that transforms and evolves in communities to meet whatever that need is.
Now, if people want to kind of get involved and engaged, I saw that you could become a member of Ideas for Future. Could you tell us a little bit about what would people contribute becoming a member, and how would people's life benefit from becoming a member in this organization?
Of course. So slight correction, it's Ideas for Us. So Ideas for Us, the concept behind that is that it's not ideas for me and not for you, it's ideas for all of us. And this came from the mnemonic of intellectual decisions on environmental awareness solutions, which is what IDEAS stands for. And that was the original name of the club back in 2008. So when we became a nonprofit in 2011, we changed the name to just IDEAS for Us. And one of the biggest perks of someone becoming a member of IDEAS for Us is that, well, they're really standing up to be counted. Here's something that a lot of people don't understand about nonprofits and foundations in the United States, is that they ask you how many people are donors, how many people are members, and judge whether or not to give you money based on that. In the United States, if you don't have enough donors, you can be reclassified from a public charity to a private charity. And then you have to operate in a different manner. A public charity is what we are, which means that the number, the quantity of contributions largely comes from individuals, people donating between 20 and 100 US dollars at a time because they believe in the work that we're doing and they want to help. Now, we have corporations that are out there that donate far more money to us than that, and they're really what powers these kinds of programs in communities. So being a member isn't just about paying whatever the amount of money is to become a member, and there's a few different tiers and types of membership. It's really about saying, okay, I believe in the work that you all are doing. I want to have my name and my opinion counted, that I believe in this work and that others should support it too. So that's a really big benefit to someone becoming a member, is that they get to have that level of being part of the solution for us. Now, additionally, we have plenty of events that occur around the world. We have different types of merchandise and things that people can purchase if they're interested. That's all geared around sustainability. We're going to be offering webinars and summer camps. And as a member, there's discounts for all of that. Because someone has chosen to help us and to support us, we believe that, we should charge them less than just a normal rate for someone from the general public. So those are some benefits to it for sure. We're also really looking for companies to find that are wanting to become corporate social responsibility members. We've had foundations and companies from around the world choose to do this, so it's not just limited to the United States by any means. We have done action projects in 30 different countries. So if you are a company and you're interested in working with us, we have programs that we've created that are specially for you. So I'm happy to go into some more about those if you like.
At the moment, I would like to not go into that because we're about to kind of come to the end of this interview today. So we could, if people want to read more about that, could you tell us again, where would you go then?
Of course. So all of the information that you can find that I mentioned can be received through our website. And our website is www.ideasforus.org. So IDEASFORUS.org, ideasforus.org. And there's a contact form to reach out to us there. There is our email that you can reach out to. There's a phone number to be able to call internationally as well if you'd like. And that's a great way to start a conversation with us about all the different kinds of things we offer, but also all the different kinds of projects that we've done as well.
That was a well summary. Your clarity is excellent. Yes. So before we end there, I want to give you the opportunity, like we talked before this interview, and you told me that you've been kind of passionate for the world, the environment, sustainability since you were 11. Now, is there anything that you think most people don't know about sustainability that you would really like for people to understand as
of course,
as last ending of this interview?
Of course. Sustainability is unequivocally the future. There will be a very significant line drawn in the sand in the 21st century of countries and communities and families that are able to adopt and evolve with sustainability and those that are not. And I really believe that one of the biggest values that I as a person and that Ideas for Us can bring to the table is helping in that transition. And we're very unique in that we work full stack, meaning we work from one campus or one classroom in one university or college, all the way through to networks of networks through the United Nations and everything in between, meaning county governments, town governments, city governments, you name it, and helping them to understand what are the action projects, what are the strategic plans, what are the metrics and the goals, what are the partners, and how do they all work together, and how can we achieve a particular range of results that we know are really moving the needle. And, you know, that's something that we've honed over the last 11 years. I'm happy to say that in 2020, very early in the year, we're going to be releasing our strategic plan called 2020 Plus. And we will be outlining what's called the SDG for Sustainable Development Goals, SDG Cities Project, where we'll be bringing this to places in the United States, but also around the world, and using the things that we've found work as kind of an expansion plan to bring those best practices to other places. So pretty exciting stuff. And again, just thank you very much for the time and space to share what it is we do. And I would love for people to go to ideasforus.org to learn more.
Thank you very much for taking the time, especially since you're doing so much work to stop by and actually allow us to take part of that. So thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you.